Hello and welcome back to yet another episode of iSucceed, a unique inspirational podcast where you get to learn everything about leadership and success mastery. This is your host Payal Nanjiani, and thank you so much for taking out the time from your day-to-day work to listen, to learn and to grow. Making such an investment into becoming a world-class leader, and I truly appreciate that you trust us here on iSucceed to help you become successful. And it's my commitment to you to connect you with some of the best ideas and individuals in the world that can help you to elevate yourself to work at a higher frequency and live your full potential. Our topic for today is strategies to manage success and failures in work and life. And our esteemed guest today, who will enlighten us on this topic, is one of the best-selling authors, an authority on mind management, a teacher of yoga and holistic health for thousands of seekers across the globe. He is an alumni of IIT Delhi and IIM Calcutta. He has spoken everywhere, from Fortune 500 companies in the US such as Google, Intel, Verizon, and Oracle, various NGOs and non-profits such as the United Nations Defense Research Development Organizations, Indian Railways, and all the way to universities such as IITs, IIMs, MIT, Northwestern, Princeton, Stanford, and Yale. He also heads a charitable medical hospital, naturopathy care, yoga center, university education, and vocational training in rural India. He organizes special youth leadership camps both in India and US, and you will hear so much about this even in today's episode. His name is His Holiness Swami Mukundananda. Swamiji, what a blessing to have you with us on this show. Thank you for taking the time to be here and for giving me this opportunity to once again speak with you. Welcome to iSucceed podcast.
Thank you, Payal. Thank you for inviting me to your podcast. And my heartiest best wishes to all your listeners. I am really looking forward to conversing some very meaningful and inspirational topics with you today.
Thank you, Swamiji. And, with our topic for today on strategies for, to manage success and failures in work and life, I think our listeners and even me would really want to know that often, when we think of spiritual leaders or monks, we think that they have a very peaceful life filled with success. They haven't really, encountered so many failures. And, is that really true?
Well, spirituality is practiced in two ways. Mm-hmm. The Buddha said that once you are enlightened, there are only two options you have. One is to do nothing, and the other is to help others get enlightened. That is why, from the Vedic perspective, there are two paths. One is pravritti, and the other is nivritti. Mm-hmm. So those saints who followed the path of nivritti, they resided in isolation in the Himalayas, in the forests. And by virtue of the positive vibrations, they were helping the entire world. And we have hundreds of examples of saints throughout the world who led such lives of isolation, and that has created the notion in a lot of people that spirituality is only practiced in seclusion. But there is the other path called the pravritti, where these saints, they come out into the world and they try and help everyone by being with them. My own example, I was actually from my childhood extremely fond of isolation. I was an introvert all through my college. I loved nothing better than sitting by the lakeside and contemplating on philosophic matters. And then my spiritual teacher pushed me into the world. So now with in the middle of the hustle and bustle, initially I felt disoriented. And then later on, I was able to make peace with it and find a deeper happiness and fulfillment in helping others. So, in the Bhagavad-Gita, the definition of a yogi is very interesting. It says, Yogina karma kurvanti sangam tyaktva shuddhaye. Who is a yogi? Not someone who can perform chakrasan or mayurasan. A yogi is one who is able to perform the most intricate kinds of works. He may be ruling a kingdom, or she may be the CEO of a corporate organization. And in the midst of all of that, if somebody can be calm and equipoised from within, that person is truly a yogi. And it is important to make a correction here that saintliness is not in the externals. Anyone may wear saintly clothes and put on saintly marks on the head, etc. True saintliness is within. So a saintly person may well be suited and booted. The saintly person may well be in household life, doing all the worldly duties. The intention with which they are done, the thoughts that are harbored within, those are important. And that is what we learn from spiritual knowledge, how to improve ourselves from within.
Wow, Swamiji, this is the very first time I've really heard someone connect the CEOs and entrepreneurs and relate them to, the role of a yogi. And that changes the way we behave at our workplace. The moment we see our titles, our positions as our work as divine, and that we are yogis who are serving over here in the corporate world, in the business world. I think that's so wonderfully put. It just changes our entire perspective and the way we handle people and the way we handle work. That was a very, very beautiful analogy that you have given. And, I also read your newest book, Seven Mindsets for Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment. And it was so well connected for anyone, And who is this written for? And what made you write something which connects mindset with success, happiness, and fulfillment?
Yes, Payal, to answer your question a little humorously, this book is written for anyone who has a mind, which means all of us.
Oh, I love that.
So all of us are looking for these things. We want happiness. We want professional accomplishment. We want personal growth. And in pursuing all of these, we keep on working on the externals, our circumstances, the possessions that we have, the positions we occupy. But in this whole paradigm, we miss out on one most important thing, and that is the attitudes we bring to bear on all of this. So happiness is not in the externals. Happiness is always a consequence of the state of our mind. We have the example of John Rockefeller, who in his time was the wealthiest person in the world. And yet he said, I have not seen 6 days of happiness. And on the other end of the spectrum, we know of Helen Keller, who had only 3 of her 5 senses intact. And yet she led such a purposeful and meaningful life. And at the end, she said, life has been so beautiful. I have enjoyed every moment of it. So the Western philosopher John Milton put it so well when he said, the mind is a place of its own, and in itself can make heaven out of hell and hell out of heaven. So this mind is so important, but we have not realized its significance. Historically, the Western civilization has focused on external progress, and that has had its tremendous benefits in harnessing external nature, utilizing it for our comforts. And the Indian civilization historically focused on the internal conquests, on internal improvement and internal growth. That is why thousands of years ago, Shankaracharya said, Jagat Jitam Kena. He asked a question in his works: who shall influence and conquer the world? And the answer he gave was not someone who has better weapons. He said, Mano Hiyena, that person who has conquered his or her own mind. So, this mind of ours is so important. And best part is it is an internal resource. We don't need anything on the outside. We just need the ability to be able to choose the right thoughts, to be able to reject the wrong attitudes. So this to help people realize the importance of this and to provide them the tools with which they can manage their mind. I wrote this book, and my personal intention was also this, that we have such a huge treasure chest of wisdom and tools on mind management in the ancient heritage of the East, which people are not even aware of. So I wanted to bring these out and present them in a modern context so that people can realize the connection between spirituality and everyday life and utilize these wonderful tools that were given in the sacred books of wisdom by the holy personalities to improve our experience of life, our attainments in life, and ultimately to find the happiness that we are all looking for.
Wow. And what you said is so true, especially in today's business world where there is so much of uncertainty going on at present, and even it was earlier. I think this is something that we all have to work towards, is that, how are we going to influence ourselves? How are we influencing our own thoughts and processes so that we can, be internally fulfilled, happy, and feel successful before we really make others happy or make others, our teams and everyone feel fulfilled. So I think that's a great, and I have read that book, so it's really awesome, Swamiji. So when we talk about success and failures, how do you define success and failure, and what does it actually mean for our soul? I think this is very imperative for we people in the business world to know what would success and failure look like, and how does it impact our lives, our soul, everything.
Yes, Payal. Success is such a wonderful word. Mm-hmm. We all want success. But very few people have a very clear definition of success for themselves. So in general, people have a vague idea of what it means to be a successful person, which goes something like this. One should possess the wealth of Bill Gates and the physique of Arnold Schwarzenegger and the intelligence of Albert Einstein and the athletic ability of Michael Jordan and the business prowess of Warren Buffett and the heart of Mahatma Gandhi and the imagination of Walt Disney. So this idea that people have of success is again focused on the externals. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we may possess all the externals, and yet we may not have happiness from within. So that success will not satisfy our soul. And that is why uh, I'd like to share a little story with you. One grandmother used to come and stay with her uh, children during the summers. And at that time, she would play Monopoly with her grandson. Now, the grandson was a 5-year old, and she would regularly defeat him in Monopoly. So, after the summer vacation was over, she returned. A new child moved into the neighborhood. He was really good at Monopoly. And this boy started playing with him, and slowly, slowly, he became even better. He was now waiting for the next summer and for his grandmother to come. When she arrived, he was eager to play Monopoly. And this time, when they played, he defeated her. She smiled and she said, "My child, it seems like you have become expert in this game. Well, let me teach you one last lesson." What is that? Ultimately, it all goes back into the box. We may have acquired many things, we may have built a lot of properties, we may have done wonderful things, and ultimately, it's all going to go back into the box. We are all going to depart one day. So, keeping that frame, that perspective, if we try and find a deeper meaning of success, it is not in what we have, but in what we are. So I would say we should make this our perspective, that we wish to be the best that we can be. And when we define our success in this way, we really don't care if others are better than us or not, because we are running our own race. So it's not important whether we are better than the others or not. It's important whether we are the best in terms of our own potential. And in the same way, what we are doing, was that the best that we could do? So when people ask me for a definition of success, I put it like this: to be the best that we can be. And the second, to do the best that we can do. And the consequence of that is that you feel happy from within. So, this is the goal in which our direction in which our soul is evolving. Now, in the way, we are definitely going to experience failures because nobody starts at the top. So the process of learning has failure built into it. This failure is not permanent, it is just an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to move ahead. So that is why somebody said that there is no harm in making a mistake. But if you make the same mistake again next year, then that is a problem. So neither success nor failure is permanent. They are all parts of the journey to the ultimate goal. And you have asked me, what does it mean for the soul? So the soul is on an evolutionary journey. And the goal of it all is to reach the ultimate perfection. I really like the way it is expressed in the Bible. Be ye perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect. That the destiny of all the souls is to reach that ultimate perfection. And the Vedas say that, look, the Supreme has this grand plan for all of us, where he wants all of us to become like him. So until we reach that point, we are on this journey. And in the process, we are learning, we are improving, we are growing. So, failure and success are to be seen as stepping stones. And the important thing is to grow from both the experiences.
Yeah, that is very right, Swamiji. And like you rightly said, we are all looking at the external success. And what you had said in the earlier, question that happiness, success, everything is internal. And I love the definition that you said: be the best and do the best. I know, and if I was to add something to it, I always believe that at the end of the day, when you are sleeping, you should have a really peaceful sleep at night, not worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow, and like you said, defining success outside. So a peaceful night is a good way to know that yes, I'm on the right path.
Sure, sure. That is very beautifully put, Payal. Peaceful night, the sense of fulfillment that comes from having done your best.
Yes, yes,
Definitely.
that's very true. And I work with so many of these CEOs and high-end executives, and I feel that the higher the person climbs, the more they are afraid to fail. So, what have you've been also speaking to so many high-end executives, and you're always traveling around. Why do you feel people at large, whatever is their designation, they are very afraid to fail?
Hmm. As people grow in significance and they acquire higher positions, it is natural that they receive adulation of those below them. Now, all this adulation should not be taken too seriously. One should always remember that ultimately we are just human. Uh, in Rome, the generals, they would have these slaves called auriga. They were uh, given the responsibility of transportation because of their loyalty. And the custom was that when this auriga, they would put the crown on the general's head, they would whisper in their ear, memento homo. Remember, you are just human. So don't take that position, don't take the popularity too seriously. Now, if we accord too much of importance to it, if we become attached to all that, then it is natural, it is going to lead to fear. So, of course, CEOs, etc., have got a lot at stake because their decisions they impact hundreds of people, employees, the profits of shareholders, etc. So, because of so much being at stake, the decisions become vital and critical. But becoming fearful is not going to help. The way to make the best decisions is to keep the intellect fresh, the unattached. And the moment attachment develops, then we stop making the best possible decisions. So it is this sense of fear has to be countered by changing the value system. That means at the bottom of it is what is it we are valuing? If we are valuing the external accomplishment, the position in society, etc., then it is natural we will fear that it gets snatched away from us. However, if we change our value system, that it's okay, I may have become a CEO, but how good did I become as a person? I may have gained the whole world, but if I have not improved the quality of my soul, then what is the value of it all? When these questions need to be pondered deeply, and as a consequence of that, if we can change what we value and determine that my inner state of mind is the biggest possession that I have, then for the sake of learning, we will not mind failure. That even if I fail, but as a consequence of this, I'm able to overcome my weaknesses, I'm able to overcome my defects, we'll say it was worthwhile. So I would like to say that the CEOs, they get caught in the hustle and bustle. And what is necessary is to stand back for a little while and to think that ultimately, what is the end goal of my life? To put it all in perspective. And that will enable them to grow from within. So, all the emphasis on the external growth kind of tends to sideline the importance of internal growth. And I always say that to really succeed, you need to grow from within. So if we can keep that perspective, then fear of external failure will definitely reduce.
Yeah, I think this is very enlightening, very insightful, Swamiji, because in our day-to-day work, I have noticed that we're all really caught up. I liked what you said. We get very attached, not just to the position or the title, but we are also attached to the results because, the stakeholders and our team, we want to deliver the best results. And as you said, our job is to deliver the best results, to do the best, but that does not mean that we hold on and I like the statement you made. Ultimately, we are all humans, so we want to make sure what's the end goal of our work, of our life. And we are in a world which is very fearful. We are feeling helpless. And like you rightly said, fear is not going to help you to achieve anything. So, if you were to share with us 5 strategies that can help us to manage our work life, it can help us to manage ourselves and ultimately manage whatever we define success and failures. Swamiji, what would those 5 strategies be so that we can evolve and keep growing?
Uh, okay, Payal. I would say the first point is to expect difficulties and failures. We are all aware of Murphy's Law. If anything can go wrong, it will.
Yeah.
So that is the nature of this world. Last year, nobody expected that the whole world would be shaken by a pandemic, but it was. And I think when people adopt a singular perspective, everything is going well and it will continue going well, then they get taken by surprise. So it's just like when we are climbing a mountain, then we should expect that it's going to be uphill. And similarly, if we are progressing, if we are achieving, there will be difficulties, there will be times when we fail. So the first point would be to expect them. And then the second would be to anticipate them. In other words, it is said that in boxing, the blow that knocks you out is not the hardest, but the one that you did not anticipate. So, if we are able to prepare for things, then we will not be taken by surprise. So, we should always keep both the perspectives in mind. Things will be easy, things can become difficult. It is said that we prepare people for success, but we don't prepare them for failure. And failure is more common than success. So we should always keep both in mind. And with that, we should always anticipate the difficulties that could come. The third one, change our perspective to them. Things could get even worse. One person had an accident and his finger got cut. When he came home, he was singing And he told his wife, I am so happy. The wife said, what happened? He said, I had an accident. She said, you had an accident and you're happy? He said, my little finger has got cut. She said, what is there to be happy in this? He said, I am thankful I did not die today. Now, it could have gotten worse. If we see from that perspective and we reframe the situation, then that helps us to be optimistic. So very often we feel overcome because of the perspective that we hold. And all we need to do is to change that perspective a little bit. Uh, there's a very humorous example of this. One girl, she graduated from school and went to college and began staying in the hostel. So after 3 months, she wrote a letter to her mother. The mother began reading the letter, and she had written that, Mom, I need to confess that I made a mistake. 1 month after I had been in the hostel, I stole $50 from my neighbor's drawer. And with that, I hired a motorcycle. And driving the motorcycle, I crashed into a lamppost and broke my thigh bone. Now, the mother who was reading that letter, she said, oh my, what's this? My daughter is writing. Then she went on that, Mom, there was really nothing much to worry about because a handsome doctor in the neighborhood, he took me into his home and nursed me. And Mom, we fell in love and we've decided to get married. And I need you to know that in the process of nursing me, my husband-to-be has lost his job. And after marriage, we will both come to stay at home. And I'm sure you and father will like his company, even though he's from a different religion. Now, the mother who was reading thought, my, what in the world is going on? The last paragraph she had written, really, Mom, none of this is true. The only thing that has happened is that I've got an F in calculus. I wanted you to see it in the proper perspective. So, so an F in calculus, if we could frame it as the end of the world, or we could say, by God, it could have been far worse.
Yes, that's right.
And then the fourth strategy would be to think of people who have bigger problems. When people come to me complaining, Swamiji, sometimes they say, I'm shattered. And I say, what happened? So-and-so said this to me 3 days ago, and I'm emotionally upset. I'm not able to digest it. I say, okay, somebody insulted you and hurt you, that's fine. But think of the people who were there in World War II, sitting in trenches, fighting for their life. How much better we have it in our lives than them. So if we can think of people who have bigger difficulties and bigger problems, we will realize that we are blessed. We've got so many things to be grateful for. And the fifth point would be to utilize any situation for learning and for growing. Now, difficulties will come and failures will come, but we can convert them into learning opportunities. Like somebody said, that how do you succeed? By making good decisions. And how do you make good decisions? By having valuable experience. And how do you develop valuable experience? By having made bad decisions. So it is a journey where mistakes will lead to experience, which will lead to growth. I love one story which I think has such a deep meaning for everyone. And I'd like to share that as well. One boy in his general science class in grade 5, he learnt about how the caterpillar weaves a cocoon and then sits inside it, hibernates to finally emerge as a butterfly. This boy, when he was returning from school, he found on the rose bush in his garden a cocoon hanging. He was thrilled that he would see the miracle of nature unfolding before his eyes. So every day while going to school and while returning, he would check his personal laboratory. And sure enough, one day there was a little tear in the cocoon. It was a Saturday, so after every hour he would come and check it. And by midday, the butterfly had started emerging. So now he was watching, transfixed as it was ripping apart its home for the last 21 days to come out. But having emerged halfway, it seemed to get stuck. And now it could go no further. The cocoon was bobbing up and down. This boy thought that the poor butterfly is having such difficulties. Let me help it. He ran home, grabbed a pair of scissors, and snipped it open. Now the butterfly fell down on the ground. He thought it will fly away, but he found that it is cringing around in circles and discovered that it had a swollen stomach and crippled wings. He thought this may soon correct itself. The wings will fill up and the stomach will shrink. But he did not realize that now this would never be. That struggle of extracting itself from the cocoon was necessary for the growth of the butterfly. In the process, it would have pushed the fluid from the stomach into the wings. And without the struggle, it would remain crippled for life. Similarly, the difficulties that come in our way, the hardships, the challenges, are God's way of helping us fill our wings for the great flight ahead. We wish to avoid them. We wish to look for someone who can also snip our cocoon and snatch away all our problems without realizing it is in facing them that we grow. As the prayer says, I prayed to God for wisdom. He gave me problems to solve that I may become wise. I prayed to him for strength. He gave me difficulties to overcome that I may grow in strength. I prayed to God for courage. He gave me dangers to surmount and become courageous. I prayed to God for love. He gave me the poor and downtrodden to serve and develop love. It is in facing these difficulties that we really fulfill the purpose of our life to become the best version of ourselves that we can.
Wow, this is so amazing, Swamiji. I was so lost into your words when you were speaking, especially the story that you shared, that yes, the struggle is a part of growth. And, if you're going to just move away from it and try to just get away, it's only going to harm you. And I'll be really, really honest, Swamiji. I have never ever heard anyone, guide us in this corporate world and tell us you have to expect difficulties and failures, and that you have to anticipate them. You have to change your own perspective. So I think with what you just said, it makes so much of impact, because you've been speaking at companies like Google and Verizon, Oracle. And I'm sure you've also noticed the same thing, is that in our day-to-day life, we are so grinded, with the work pressure. We have to finish up deadlines. Now we're all into this COVID situation. So people are working extra hours. There are a lot of people who have lost their jobs. There are a lot of people who are unemployed and they are struggling to find employment. I'm working with people at the top in the companies. They are very pressurized to deliver the best results, because otherwise, it's the Wall Street and other financial institutes. They are just waiting to catch on them and to rip them apart. So everyone is working under pressure, and whatever you have said, it makes so much of sense in our day-to-day work life. And so many of us, we feel we just have to work towards the results, and we have to keep all these things aside. But just the very fact that move ahead expecting difficulties and failures, I think that's a huge one for me at least. Now, Swamiji, apart from working with corporates and apart from all the Fortune 500 companies that you speak at, you are also very heavily involved with the youth, and I must say that I feel so blessed to be a part of your leadership camps at all times, and to add value. It's really an honor and a blessing for me. And this year's youth leadership camp is virtual, which is coming up on December 6th, 2020, and all its information is in the description below. Why do you encourage youth to build their leadership skills, and why would you say that the youth must attend this session? And I think this time we are doing it for India, and it's going to be a huge one virtually. Why do you feel that the youth must attend this session and focus on leadership?
Well, Payal, thank you for remembering our association in the past. I remember the first time when I came to North Carolina, and you used to attend the sessions with your eyes closed, sitting right in front, just soaking it all in. And then later on, when we met, and you told me that you were a leadership trainer and a corporate coach. And subsequently, we had our leadership workshop for the youth in Dallas, yes. in which you participated as a speaker. And that was the first time I heard you speaking. And I was tremendously impressed, because in all the galaxy of speakers who were there, you completely stood out. And you absolutely captivated the young ones from the beginning till the end, not giving them a moment to divert their minds. So subsequently, you have moved to India, and together we are going to be doing this workshop for the youth, in which we will be having many distinguished speakers to share their experience, etc. What the world needs to transform itself is empowered, enlightened leaders. That is what makes the real difference. Says, what is the shortage in India today? There are not enough leaders to power the country forward. And that is why one of the biggest services we can do to the nation and to the world is to create a cadre of leaders in every field who can show the way and who can drive the progress of humankind. And in this, the importance of the youth is very relevant, because the youth of today are the future of tomorrow. So to help the youth appreciate the concept of leadership, to inspire them in this direction, and to introduce them to various aspects of leadership, and encourage them to learn more, so that, because leadership is a huge concept, but when we set them on this track, then they will continue on their own. We have this workshop that has been conceptualized by your team and my team, and I'm looking forward to it, alongside with the other speakers, to speak to all the youth and to discuss with them topics that are so important for a better life for all of us.
Absolutely, Swamiji. And I really hope that a lot of youth take the advantage of this, because, growing up, I never had so much of information content available on leadership, and I think the youth of today should use all of this content and this opportunity to grow into successful and better leaders for tomorrow. And I'm going to put all these details for everyone. The details are in the description below. Feel free to sign up and to be there on December 6, 2020. Swamiji, your insights, your all the content and your information that you've shared on this podcast, I must say that I would just love to go on and on, but I know time is a little cringing. Swamiji, before I bring this to a wrap, I would really like to have one more insight from you, is that if there was one message, just one message, if you had to give to anyone, whether they are in the corporate, they are entrepreneurs, they are the youth, they are the women, anyone on this planet who is wanting to succeed in their life, they want to grow, they want to achieve something in their life. If there was one message, Swamiji, that you would like to part with, what would that message be for all of us?
Okay, Payal. One of the biggest iron towers in the world is the Tower of Calgary. It is about 11,000 tons in weight. Interestingly, 60% of it, about 6,000 tons, is under the ground, which is the foundation. So that foundation is the basis of its external growth. Similarly, we all want external growth, but the basis of that has to be our inner development. And we all run on the outside, and we ignore our inner development. Let anyone analyze their time's schedule for the entire year and see how much time did they allot to investing in themselves, to focusing on becoming better people. But that is the very basis, that is the very foundation. And I like the slogan that you have, success is within. That if we can focus on becoming better people, if we can focus on having better attitudes, better values, better beliefs, then success on the outside will come very easily. So the one message is to grow from within to succeed in life.
I so agree with this, Swamiji. It's something when I believe in, like you said. Thank you so much, Swamiji, for taking the time to be on my show. I am deeply blessed to get the opportunity to spend so much time around you. And every time that I speak with you or I am around you for any sessions or anything, I can feel that energy. I can just feel that inspiration. And I am so sure our listeners have also felt your energy and inspiration. You truly have a great influence on all of us. Thank you so much, Swamiji.
Thank you, Payal. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. And my best wishes to all your listeners. I do hope that our discussion today helps them a little shade in finding success, happiness, and fulfillment. Thank you very much, Payal.
Thank you. And to all our listeners today who have joined us, you can connect with Swamiji on the social media. He has a special YouTube channel also where he is at all times sharing a lot of insights for growth and for success. And for any of you who want to connect more with me, I'm available on social media, on LinkedIn and on other channels. And until our next episode, this is Payal Nanjiani wishing you loads of success. Thank you so much.